Parties downtown, reunions across the city, a spring fling for the school system. But we'll begin with a conversation about Devon's Law. Roll it, Scott. April is getting out of here like it owes us some money. Can you believe how fast this year is getting by here? But the legislative session is going on right now. A lot of big business down at the state capitol. And to kick off our show tonight is State Representative Edmond Jordan, representing Louisiana House District 29. What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
Look, let me ask you, when the session is coming around, are you optimistic, or are you anxious, or are you like, why did I do this? What's the feeling as the session starts?
I tell everybody, they'll ask me a few days before the session, are you ready? And I always tell them no, but I'll be ready when it starts. So it's kind of one of those deals. Once this year, when April 10th came around, I was ready. So we're getting into it.
Well, we're going to talk about Devon's Law in a moment. I think something that's very, very significant, not just here in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge, but across the state of Louisiana. But let's talk about the session overall. This is the last regular session for Governor Edwards, and there are going to be all these elections this fall, including yours. What's priority in your mind going into this session?
Well, look, I think the biggest priority right now is stabilizing the budget. I mean, the first few years I was in office, we had so many special sessions dealing with that. We finally got that taken care of, but you got to remember, in a couple of years, the 4.5 cent taxes, that penny is going to drop. And so, we're looking at facing another budget crunch. So we got to be fiscally responsible, and this is a fiscal session that we're having this year.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest priority, working with the budget. But once we get past that, we got several other things that we're trying to do, because we've done police pursuits, and I got a bill dealing with that.
Yeah,
but
I'm going to get to that too.
We've also done some criminal justice reform stuff over the last few years. But now there's a moment or a trend to try to reverse some of that. And we may need to look at some of that, honestly, but we don't want to take it too far back. So we got to make sure we keep our eyes on that ball as well.
What's your goal as it relates to that? You've been very outspoken about protecting the rights of citizens across the city, and obviously that reflects across the state as well. Give us a read on where that process is right now.
Well, for me, look, I kind of took this session, and I didn't intend to have a certain theme to the session, but this session for me is sort of taking on a theme to speak for those who can't speak for themselves, which in some ways is not different from what I've been doing in the past. But you have to remember, as it relates to police pursuits, 2 young ladies died tragically. That happened in my district, less than a mile from my home. When we talk about Devon's Law, we're talking about a young man that lost his life. These are folks that can't speak for themselves. So we're doing that. I've got another bill that's dealing with reducing the rates of prison communication, so whether it be payphones or Zoom calls or whatever, because that hurts the incarcerated, but it more so hurts the incarcerated person's family. And so we're trying to do some things, because we know if people can communicate with their loved ones when they come out, it reduces recidivism. They're less likely to have violations when they are incarcerated. So for me, I'm trying to deal with a few of those things, but I will tell you, Devon's Law is something that's very important.
Let's get right into it. We have kept a picture of that little boy on our set since Kathy Tolliver was here the first time, and we told her that the picture of Devon, just like the one with Allie, is going to stay here until they catch the killer or killers of that baby. Leading into that, Devon's mother was trying to get out of that house because she was concerned about violent crime around there. And she was treated pretty horribly by the landlord. And basically, he put his thumb on her. And there were threats, and so she could not leave. Well, subsequently, her 3-year-old is struck in the head by a bullet. And so I don't think anyone who is in a situation where it's life and death should have to go through what Ty went through. So let's talk about this law.
So let's back up. You started at the pertinent point, but the Metro Council had taken some actions. My good friend Cleve Dunn sponsored that measure and took it as far as they could take it. I was working with him and talking to him throughout that process, and part of the issue that they have is constitutionally, a municipality can't do anything that would break a contract.
Right.
Right? So, but that prohibition does not apply to the legislature. So they have taken this as far as they could take it, and he and I were coordinating with this, and he's like, look, this is where I am with it. There's a final step. Are you willing to do something? And you know, I was like, absolutely, let's do this. So what my bill does is just that. It allows someone within a 6-month period, if they've had 2 reports to the police of criminal activity, that they can it's an early termination of the lease. It allows them to early terminate that lease, and the landlord has to he can get 30 days, but beyond that, that's it. They can get out of there, and hopefully a situation like this won't happen again.
I hope not, man, because it's about as bad. And I didn't know this until I had a conversation with Mike Adams about this, and he was explaining the situation she was in, and it's just terrible. Let's talk about the pursuit legislation that you referenced earlier.
So with that, what we're trying to do, and look, I've talked to the Sheriff's Association and some other stakeholders, and one of the things they mentioned to me that we don't want a total ban on pursuits, and I get that. So what my bill, it doesn't have a total ban on pursuits, but it does have an accountability aspect to it. And it basically what it says is you can have the pursuit, and I don't care necessarily if you're chasing them for a misdemeanor, if you're chasing them for a violent felony, chase them for whatever you like. However, if it ends in death or serious bodily injury to the innocent bystander, there should be some accountability and some financial compensation that goes to the victims. And so that's the biggest thing. We have to have some teeth to it. And Clay, I can tell you, one of the biggest incentives to reduce bad behavior or mitigate bad behavior is that financial incentive.
Oh, yeah.
And so we got to put, you know, some people say, well, why don't we make a criminal statute? Or what? That's fine. If somebody else wants to pursue it from that angle, I welcome that. For me, it's been my experience that the financial incentive is the best way.
Somebody gets in your money, they generally get your attention.
Exactly.
Listen, you're welcome back here anytime to come back first time on, and we look forward to seeing what's happening in the session.
Anytime. Appreciate it.
You, brother. All right, let's talk about the school system's spring fling. We'll do that next.